It's Amelia Mashoni from the Beautiful Mind Academy. In today's video, we're going to be going through Task List B concepts and principles, specifically looking at B4 positive and negative contingencies. Throughout the video, there's going to be some questions. I will answer some, and then I'm going to ask you guys to answer some of the questions below, just so we can get this video more interactive. Let's start with reinforcement. Anytime that we hear the word reinforcement, we automatically should be thinking about behavior that increases in the future. And there's two types. One is positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is the addition of a rewarding stimulus immediately following a desired behavior, with the intention of increasing the likelihood that the behavior will be repeated in the future. So, in simple terms, okay, just like this positive sign, we are adding something to the learner's environment, which as a result increases the behavior in the future. Whereas negative reinforcement involves the removal of a stimulus immediately following a desired behavior, with the intention of increasing the likelihood that the behavior will be repeated in the future. So in simple terms, we are removing something from the environment and it will increase the behavior in the future. Something to keep in mind with positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement is if there is no indication whether the behavior increased or decreased, or if it's the first time something happened, we cannot say for certain that it would be positive or negative reinforcement. So we would want to see a pattern happening. And we would want it to be very clearly stated that behavior in the future increased or decreased. Okay, so let's go through some questions. In a classroom, Emma consistently participates in class discussion. Her teacher praises her outstanding contributions and allows her to choose a book from the special reading corner as a reward. Now in the future, Emma participates in all class discussion. So when we are looking at positive or negative reinforcement, what would this example be? And I'll give you a second with that. So if you said positive reinforcement, you are absolutely correct. We are looking at positive reinforcement because her teacher praises her is something being added to her environment. And she also allows her to choose a book, which is something else that was added to her environment. And in the future, she now participates again or more, which means that her behavior increased or maintained. So the first example is a clear sign of positive reinforcement. Number 2, Winnie runs 8 miles each day. She loses 8 pounds and she feels amazing. Would we say this is negative or positive reinforcement? Okay, so the answer for number 2 is we don't really know. It doesn't give us any indication if the behavior increased or decreased. So in this case, we don't know. Okay, so we can't just assume, especially when we are writing for the BCBA exam, the BCABA, or the RBT exam, or any exam. We can't start filling information or adding information. We should just be looking at the written scenario and answering the question. Okay, for questions 3, 4, and 5, I'm going to leave them here for you guys. And you guys can let me know. So down below, you can comment question 3 is, and you can let me know if it's negative or positive reinforcement. And I would really love and appreciate if everybody can comment and either agree or disagree and provide reasons as to why you chose negative or positive reinforcement. It really lets other people who are watching this video get a clear understanding, especially those who are finding this area challenging. And it can get very confusing at times. Okay, the next is punishment. And for those of us who are not in the field of ABA and just listening to these videos for insight, when we use the word punishment in ABA, there is a very negative connotation that is linked to punishment, but we don't use punishment in the traditional way. Punishment in ABA refers to behavior that decreases, okay, through something that we do. There's two different ways. One is positive punishment, the other is negative punishment. So just like we mentioned with positive and negative reinforcement, the same thing here applies, except this time behavior decreases, okay? So positive punishment is this idea that we are adding something to the learner's environment that decreases the behavior in the future, okay? Whereas negative punishment means that something is being removed and that decreases the behavior in the future, okay? A really nice way to remember this is positive, something added, negative, something removed, and then look in the scenario to determine, well, what happened to behavior in the future? Did it increase? That would be reinforcement. Did it decrease? That would be punishment. Okay, so here's some other examples, but this time we're looking at negative or positive punishment. Number 1, Sarah fails to complete her assigned chores. In response, her parents add an extra household chore as a consequence. Next time her parents assign her task, she fails to do the chores again. So in this scenario, is it negative or positive punishment? Okay, so if you guys said positive punishment, you would be correct. In this case, her parents adding additional household chores would be the positive, something being added, and she still didn't do her chores, so the behavior didn't happen, right? The next question 2, 3, and 4, I'll leave this on the screen for just a minute so you guys can read them. And again, I would really like it if you guys participated and let me know if scenario 2, 3, and 4 are negative or positive punishment. And if you need more time, you can always pause this part of the video and keep that on the screen while we continue. This part is actually just mixing it up so that way we can test our skills when we do a randomization phase. And this is a really good way to understand if you actually have the skill or not when we now embed positive, negative reinforcement and punishment all together. So again, we can do these interactively. But something that I also wanted to mention, a nice way that I was actually doing this during my exam was I was writing out the ABCs in each of the scenarios. And that draws a really beautiful picture to see what happened to the behavior. So when you're looking at scenarios, go ahead and write the ABC, the antecedent, the behavior, the consequence. Look to your consequence to see if something was added or removed, right? If there was something added to your consequence, we'll call that positive. If something was removed from your consequence, we'll say that's negative. Then the scenario will then discuss what happened in the future. And again, if behavior increased in the future, we're going to call that reinforcement. If the behavior decreased in the future, we're going to call that punishment. Okay, so give that a try with these scenarios and use that ABC if that's something that you would like to try. And if it works, that's amazing. If that's not for you or if that seems a little bit more confusing, then that's totally fine. We can find something else that works. So I really hope that you enjoyed my video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched till the end. And please feel free to comment, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I will be continuing to make these videos for you guys. Thank you again. Once again, I'm Amelia Mascioni from the Beautiful Mind Academy. Thank you.